Whenever anybody like Piers Morgan asks and implies that Israel should be conducting this war in a better manner, you have to be absolutely fucking brutal in your response. First and foremost, Israel is prosecuting this war better than any other country in the history of warfare, in the history of modern warfare, in the history of any urban war. Israel is doing this better. Better than the British, better than the French, better than the Americans, better than the UN forces, better than anybody else has ever done this. Now, I know you want a world where Israel can do this without killing anybody. Israel wants a war where it doesn't have to sacrifice 250 of its soldiers. But Israel is doing the best job the world has ever seen. And every time you give oxygen to the fire that Israel should be doing a better job without actually suggesting exactly how, not like big picture, no, exactly how Israel could be doing a better job, you're ensuring more Palestinians dead, because this is the best way anybody has ever conducted war. What you're upset about is the fact that this is a war. War is terrible. People die in wars. That's why Israel tries to avoid them as much as possible. Israel knows this better than anybody else because all Israelis are soldiers. Think about that. And you're trying to imply that Israel should be doing a better job to the country where everyone is a soldier. That's who you're saying it to. When 250 of its soldiers have been murdered in this war that nobody wanted to fight, except for Hamas. And every time you ask the question of Israel and not ask the question of Hamas, what you're doing is getting more Palestinians killed. Every time you ask that question at Israel, when Israel is conducting this better than anybody in the history of the world, every time you ask about Israel, that's one more Palestinian dead, one more child dead, one more mom dead. Because the question is at Hamas. You could surrender today. You can hand over the hostages right this moment, and that would end this war. But nobody's asking you to do that. Instead, you ask about how Israel should be doing a better job prosecuting this war, and are implying and allowing people on your show that say that Israel is committing a genocide when this is the best war that has ever been conducted. But it's war. People die. It's not a genocide. It's a war that is being conducted better than any war in the history of the world. So how dare you imply that the Jewish people who are sacrificing their own soul, and it's not just Jewish, it's all Israelis, sacrificing its own people, in order to prosecute this war as good as humanly possible, and then accuse Israel, the people who know more about genocide than anybody else, who know more about people trying to kill other people needlessly just because of who they are than anybody else. You accuse us of being genocidal when we're doing this as best as we could, when we could be genocidal and not waste a single soldier's life. We have air superiority. We could do that if we wanted to, but we know that is improper, which is why we're conducting this war in the most proper way possible. And you don't see us revelatory in the streets. You don't see us gleeful as this is happening. It's lamentable. Nobody wants this. But there's a difference between doing what you want and doing what you need. And Israel needs to do this because we're done letting you kill us. That's it. And the second you decide that you want to stop killing us is the moment we'll have peace. But we're done being murdered for being Jews, for being Israelis. We're done. And that means you, who started this war and planned on this war happening exactly the way it is, by the way, it's your plan. You knew that this is how this would go. In fact, you were banking on people like Piers Morgan to ask the question and to imply that Israel should be doing better. When we're prosecuting this war better than anybody ever has, and yet we are getting asked and treated in a manner that nobody else has. Now that people be cute, like, I don't know why. No, it's because we're Jews. That's why. We're the best, number one military at prosecuting a war. Nobody has done it better than what the IDF is doing right now. Yet what you're implying is that not only should it be done better, you're saying we're guilty of a genocide. Oh, when this is the best anybody has ever done it, you're accusing us of genocide? That's anti-Semitism. That's why the entire accusation that Israel needs to be conducting this better when it's the best, that's why it's anti-Semitic. Because it's so obvious to anybody that knows anything about military history or knows anything, let's be even more accurate, about this subject. Everybody knows that this is the best way it could possibly be done. And yet while we're doing that, we're being accused of genocide. That's anti-Semitic. So, you're pulling the grossest twofer I could possibly think of. Your anti-Semitism is getting Palestinians killed. Think about that one.